Sex and Violence at the Library, Harry Potter, Captain Underpants, The Earth, My Butt, and Other Big Round Things. The Office of Intellectual Freedom, a department of the American Library Association, tracks complaints against books in taxpayer-funded libraries, including those in public schools. Every year, the office publishes a list of the top 10 books that have come under fire. In the 21st century, Harry Potter has topped the list twice, as has Captain Underpants. While young Mr. Potter was condemned for dabbling in Satanism and the occult, it is for sexual context and violence that most of the books have been challenged over the last 16 years. Given objections to sex and violence, it might surprise some that the Holy Bible, with its genocide, incest, human sacrifice, and donkey porn, has never made the list. In 2015, it finally did, coming in at number 6, 4 places ahead of Two Boys Kissing. But it wasn't for sex and violence. Rather, the Bible is considered offensive due to its religious viewpoint. While it is by far not the first book to be thus challenged, it is likely the first that promotes Christianity. The Office for Intellectual Freedom insists that public libraries must present all points of view equally, with no allowances made for doctrinal disapproval. The Earth, My Butt, and Other Big Round Things took 4th place in 2006 and 8th in 2009 for anti-family sentiment, offensive language, and, of course, sex. A nation within a nation. A recent poll has presented a problem which, according to Trevor Phillips, who once headed the Equality and Human Rights Commission, describes the state of Muslim integration into British society as extremely worrying. Muslims in many Western democracies have a much higher tendency to separate into isolated communities that resist integration and are at odds with the general population on matters such as women's rights and homosexuality. An especially contentious point on a recent poll on behalf of Britain's Channel 4 finds controversy on whether gays should ever be allowed to work as educators or whether orientation different from the norm should even be illegal. Over half of all British Muslims, 52%, disagree that homosexuality should be permissible in Britain, compared to 5% of the general population. Many Muslims in Britain avoid these awkward conversations when possible, even leading to reports of large segments of gay British Muslims feeling forced to remain closeted while living in straight marriages. Some, like Naz Mahmood, feel they have no other option but suicide should their parents discover their true orientation, even as adults. According to Phillips, Muslims have a center of gravity that is distinct from everyone else's public opinion on most social issues. Terrorism and foreign relations are also hot topics for the Channel 4 survey by ICM. The sampling of 1,000 Muslims and 1,008 control group British found that a lesser degree of integration within broader society increases sympathy with suicide bombings, the desire for Sharia law, and hostility towards the basic liberties for women. In light of these findings, Trevor Harris calls for a more muscular approach to integration. Making history. According to a recent religious declaration on same-sex marriage, this organization has just announced a historic decision that marks a shift in the Church's teaching on marriage. However, this landmark decision redefining religious liberty will allow for abstention of priests who disagree with this ruling in favor of same-sex couples. Unsurprisingly, the church in question is not in fact the Catholic Church, but rather the Church of Norway. A substantial majority of that country's churches voted on April 11th in favor of gay marriage ceremonies within the church. It is noteworthy that Norway's official state church is the Evangelical Lutheran Church, founded by the same Martin Luther who used the unspeakable crime of sodomy as a weapon against his Catholic opponents. What was once unspeakable is now celebrated in buildings that bear his name and across the country of Norway. Finally, we can celebrate love independently of whom one falls in love with, according to Gard Sandaker Nilsson, leader of the Open Public Church, long in favor of this advancement.